Hello everybody, and welcome back to our channel, Catholics Unfiltered. In today's episode, we will be talking about gun control, AR15's, everything related to guns. But for now, I'll be taking the USA citizenship test. Let me take it away to our instructor, Lindsay.
All right, Latino. Now, we ran out of paper, and so we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. I found this here bad boy in the kids section at the dollar store. Now, there's that dog over there. That's a stray one. I want you to fire that bad boy.
Okay, si, senor.
Pew, 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 pew. Now, for the first part of this video, we're going to be talking about the Catholic's view on guns.
Alright, and now when I did all my research, the Catholic Church always loves to start with the topic of prayer. We should always be praying with people that have guns and that don't have guns. There are many mass shootings in the United States, in school shootings, all these crazy tragedies that we need to be praying for. We should be praying for the mental health of the shooters that take it upon themselves to do these horrible actions. We need to also obviously pray for those that are affected by these shootings and that die from all these shootings. But when it comes to the Catholic Church's teachings, they don't have a clear stance on gun control. While they give much advice and many things what you should and shouldn't do, they don't have a clear teaching. They don't have a clear stance, if you will, on any policies or anything really related. They give a lot of middle ground to people to discuss, to give their opinions and everything. It's pretty hard to do research on this topic. But what we like to do is also talk about things that they do talk about. Now, the Catholic Church, on both sides of the argument, the first side they always talk about is self-defense. This is more of a pro-gun argument that the Catholic Church stands for, as the Catholic Church is in strong favor of self-defense. They like to talk about you should be able to defend your family, defend your property, defend your life if need be. If someone breaks into your house and wants to kill you or your family, you should have the right to bear arms and defend your family. There's many terrible things that can happen that can be stopped by a gun. Now, there's also many terrible things that can happen if you own a gun. So it goes both ways. And now the anti-gun argument that the Catholic Church presents is that guns are used to kill people. I mean, obviously that's what they're designed for, right? Is to kill. I mean, there's plenty of other like sports or anything that you can use them for. But the main stance is to kill people. And the Catholic Church does not want that, as it respects life and holds life in the highest regard. So that's what the Catholic Church's main policies and stances are, but they don't really have a concrete way of thinking or concrete way of looking at gun control. But they also tend to go against semi-automatics, as semi-automatics are higher capacity and they shoot faster and they're designed to kill more people at a time. So that also would include in their anti-gun stance. But in general, the Catholic Church does not have a clear stance, and the argument could go both ways from the Catholic Church's point of view. Now, for this second segment, we will be talking about our opinion. This isn't necessarily attached to the Catholic Church's view anymore. This will just be me and Lindsay's opinion on gun control and AR-15's. But for our first question, I'll be asking Lindsay, what is her opinion on the Second Amendment and where does she draw the line?
Now, personally, I'm with guns. I'm a pro-gun person. I believe that having a gun in your hand makes you more powerful. And personally, I don't want too much power in our government. I feel like we are a strong country because we have a lot of power as citizens. Guns, although they are used for killing, they're also used for defense. They can save many lives, like almost as much as they can take. But it honestly makes me personally feel safer with a weapon that I can defend myself. Now for this next question, I'm going to ask Jaden, what is the difference between a spring-loaded gun, a semi-automatic, and an automatic gun?
Now, this is a great question to decipher between the different style of guns. Now, the first one would be a spring-loaded gun. This is a very simple design. When you pull the trigger to reload and to shoot again, you'd have to cock it back and shoot again. This tends to be a very slow rate of fire, and you can't release as many rounds as you'd like to or wish to in the time being. Now, a semi-automatic is a little faster shooting. This would be every time you pull back the trigger of the gun, it releases one round. So if you want to release a bunch of rounds in a short amount of time, you have to continuously spam the trigger with your finger. And now the main difference between a semi-automatic and an automatic would be that an automatic, you would have to hold down the trigger, and by holding down the trigger, you'd be able to release many rounds into whatever you're aiming at. And a spring-loaded all the way to an automatic could be found in any pistols or any rifles. So there's no real deciphering between a semi-automatic and automatic just by looking at what the gun is. It could be really anything.
All right, thank you for that. For this next question, this is going to be a simple one. What is the Second Amendment?
Okay, so the Second Amendment would be obviously the Second Amendment in our Constitution. But when the Founding Fathers wrote down the Second Amendment, they wished that the people had a well-armed and well-regulated militia and the right to bear arms. Now, what does that mean? What does the right to bear arms mean? That means that any civilian, well, not any, but a large amount of civilians would be able to legally own a gun and privately have it in their house or wherever. Now, the Second Amendment states that it shall not be infringed. That means that we shouldn't be trying to take people's guns, and we should be able to have the right for everybody to own a gun. Now, this is where laws can get pretty conflicting, and many arguments could go either which way. But basically, the Second Amendment means that we should have the right to bear arms and the right to own weapons.
There are also a few restrictions, like automatics. Those are very deadly. But you also have to remember there are a few restrictions on other amendments, like the freedom of speech. For example, you can't yell fire in a theater, and you can't really own a tank. Those are private, and one very expensive, so if you do have one, holy snap. Now for this next question, I'm going to ask Jaden, what are some gun restrictions that are taking place in America today, and where do you personally draw the line?
All right, this is a good question. We need to be educated on this stuff. I would say the biggest one and the most obvious one would be that across the 50 states, civilians are not allowed to own automatic rifles. This could be anything from automatic pistols or anything related to automatics. Automatics are banned across any state for any reason, with a couple exceptions maybe of like undercover cops, or maybe if you have a really specific licensing to have an automatic for any reason. But in general, the law is that you're not allowed to have automatic rifles. But now the question becomes, where do I personally draw the line? I personally think that civilians should be allowed to have AR-15's. But now remember, AR-15's are not automatic. They are semi-automatic. The ones that every time you pull the trigger, it releases one round. Those are the big, scary black rifles that everybody's afraid of. I believe that with certain background checks of your mental health and criminal backgrounds, I feel that people should be allowed to have pistols, whether that be spring-loaded, semi-automatic, or AR-15's that are semi-automatic. I believe that people should have the right to bear arms as stated in our Second Amendment, and really that's what I feel that people should be allowed to have. Now, I also believe that, this is where it gets a little controversial, but I believe that we should have armories scattered across the United States, maybe one in each city or maybe less than that, but I feel we should have armories full of tanks and machine guns and rocket launchers, these things that will be protected by the military. But I feel that in a situation of a tyrannical government, which our founding fathers were afraid of back then, I feel that we should have it within our reach to be able to storm a armory and take these guns, because our military nowadays has these crazy fighter jets, they have fully automatic rifles, and if for any reason they decided that they want to take over the country and commit mass murder or whatever they want to do, because powerful people in this world can get pretty crazy. I feel that us as civilians should be able to use our AR-15's and pistols to be able to overthrow these armories and take out and overthrow government if it becomes tyrannical.
Hi, thank you for that, Jan. For our next question, what is the crime statistics when it comes to AR-15's and simple handguns?
Okay, as the study goes in 2019, the rate of homicides only results in 3.2% of deaths being caused for rifles, and that's not AR-15's. That could be any hunting rifle, or including obviously AR-15's. Only 3.2% of homicides resulted in rifle deaths. Now around 49% of homicides were with handguns, your simple pistols. And the crazy thing is of all the homicides, about 60% were for suicides, which I think is crazy. Only around 30% of homicides and deaths of the year were caused by murders by handguns. But in general, it's not as scary as people think it is when it comes to AR-15s. as yes, many mass shootings are a result of AR-15s, but in general, it's not a big statistic.
Okay, nice. For our next question, it will be, do you blame guns for the deaths of many Americans?
Now, I think the wording of this question is always very important, as yes, it is the gun that kills the person, but it's not the gun necessarily kills the person, it's the person using the tool to kill somebody. Now, we don't blame the tool, we don't blame a knife for killing someone if it was the other way around, if a knife was the one that was used to stab somebody. We say it was the person that used the knife to kill someone. I believe we should go with the same mentality when it comes to guns. Now, I understand guns can kill people at a faster rate, at a longer range than a knife can, obviously, right? But I believe that a gun is just a tool, and that tool can be used for good, whether it be liberating people from concentration camps, or it could be a gun that's used in mass shootings. But it's just a tool, guys. It's just the person behind the tool using it for evil or for good. And that's why I think we should look, and that's how I think we should look at guns.
And just like a simple question off that, how many deaths are a result of simple knives?
Okay, as in 2019, it concluded that around 1,500 people died to knives in the United States. And to bounce off that, around 6,600 people died to handguns in the United States. And the crazy thing is only around 364 people died to AR-15s in 2019. Now the crazy thing is if you do the math and divide those numbers by how many total guns there are about 5 to 10 million AR-15s in civilian hands in the United States, while there's about 330 million handguns in the hands of civilians in the United States. If you do that math and divide each one by how many deaths there are, they almost result in the exact same amount of deaths, percentage-wise, from how many died to how many guns there are in the hands of people. And I think that's crazy.
And just remember, no one blamed the lightsaber when Anakin killed those younglings. Now, for this next question, I'm going to ask Jaden, what do you think about open carry?
Okay, so this is an interesting one. Honestly, I agree for the most part of the laws in open carry in Michigan. I'm not 100% sure about other states, but I know in Michigan you're not allowed to take or open carry in churches, school buildings, any government buildings, any buildings like that. And I understand, and especially those in large crowds. I can, for the most part, understand that. I mean, it makes sense. I think in general, if you're walking around outside, I think you should be allowed to have open carry. But honestly, I don't overly have a too controversial opinion on open carry.
Now, do you think that every American should own a gun?
I think this is a good question. Now, my personal opinion is every human should have the right to own a gun, but when and where is where I differ. Now, I agree with the laws in the United States. You have to be 18 years old to own a gun. I don't think that 12-year-olds and 5-year-olds should be owning weapons. I don't think that's right. Now, maybe if you're shooting a gun with your father at the age of 12 in a safe environment, I may not be 100% against that. But in general, I don't think 10-year-olds should be owning weapons. But now, when it comes to mental health, I think it's very different. I think if you have severe mental health issues or you're extremely depressed and suicidal, I think the government should do mental health background checks to prevent as many suicides as we can possible, because the vast majority of killings with guns are actually a result of suicides. And I think that's so sad, but in any way we can prevent that, I think we should. I know that would infringe on our rights to own firearms, but I think that would be the right thing to do as a society. And now when it comes to prisoners, I would say if the sentence was because of a gun-related crime, I think the government should have the right to not give you any firearms. But I think if you were, let's say, drunk driving or something that's not related to firearms at all, I don't think that the government should take away your right to bear arms.
For these last two questions, I'm going to ask you, will you own any guns in the future, and which ones will you own?
This is a good question. I do play many video games, and I do play many gun-related games. So personally, I think I will own some guns in the future maybe when I'm in my own apartment or when I have my own house. But I've been thinking about this question a lot lately, and I would say for handgun related, I might own like an M9 or M1 911 as my handgun to open carry in public or to conceal carry if I get the license for that. And for the lols, I think I would own a Desert Eagle. Now maybe if I get a little bit bigger and a little more muscular, so I can actually hold that thing when I'm firing, I think a Desert Eagle is a classic American gun, aside from the revolver, but. And when it comes to AR-15s, I think I will own an AR-15, those long and scary black rifles, but I don't really have a specific model I would want, or no brand I'd want, but honestly, when it comes to the cosmetics, if I just look at it and I'd like it, as long as it's legal and it has the correct mag capacity, I think I will own one AR-15. And lastly, I know this is a lot of guns, but lastly, I think it would be awesome to have a sniper rifle, have like a super long range bolt action sniper rifle with those crazy scopes. I think that'd be awesome if it ever came to like a zombie apocalypse or something, to just have the American arsenal of guns. I mean, I think that'd be crazy. But I have to fire the question back at you, Lindsay. Would there be any guns that you would like to own in the future?
Now, I thought long and hard about this question, and to be honest, I just want a simple Glock for my purse. I would actually feel a lot safer, just going out, maybe walking the dog, or just sneaking out at like 3 a.m. just to go get like McDonald's. I would definitely want a Glock to keep me protected and safe. But I feel like here in the house, I would also want an AR-15 just in the house. If an intruder came, I would actually smile and grab it and say, finally, I can use it. And yeah, I'm more simple, but I would want to have like an eagle on the side of my Glock if I could.
That's crazy. Now, in the end, guys, this is just our opinion. This has nothing to do with the Catholic's teachings. But for now, I want to thank you all for watching our video today. And remember, Godspeed, God bless.